Hello everybody. It's so exciting to be chatting with you again tonight. And this evening, I'm really excited to be sharing with you a product that I've watched grow over the last few years. If any of you hopped into our webinar that we had in 2020, we had Yenza as one of the products there, and then they were still really new. They have grown into this amazing product that I think every school should actually be incorporating to really get your children to understand what career they might want to go into. The interesting thing is it's not just for schools. Universities, colleges, young people not sure what to do, and even someone who's been in their career for a while might find it useful. So I'm really excited to be sharing with Jared this evening. Hi, Jared. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Karen. Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a bit about where Yenza started?
Yeah, sure. So, we have a personal history, you and I, where we first met at our days working for Google. And so I was at Google for 7 years, doing various different things, working overseas, and then came back to South Africa about 3 years ago. And then wanted to do something in the youth employment, youth empowerment space. Given what's going on in the country, that's an area that needs so much attention. Yeah. And actually, what happened, the journey is that I was looking predominantly at the entry-level recruitment space, so people entering into the jobs markets, and tried to developed various assessments for entry-level recruitment. And that's how I got started. And the idea there was to build these very lightweight, inclusive, and intelligent assessments that could help people hire more effectively at scale, especially at the entry level. And to cut a long story short, is there were a lot of challenges trying to operate in that space. And then I went to a person who's been a confidant and who's now my business partner, and he's been involved in the education space for the last 20 odd years. And he said something to me that really was a kind of light bulb moment, where he said, what you're trying to do here is you're trying to put out fires, but what you should be trying to do is stop the fires from starting in the first place. And what he meant by that is, to try and help orientate people as early on in their career path as possible, so that they're not trying to figure things out, at a later stage when they've made so many wrong choices, frankly, that have these massive negative compounding effects. So that was the impetus to start Yenza. We've been operating, this is our 3rd year now of operation, and things are going from strength to strength. We're in 75 schools, ranging from, your top tier schools like the Hilton Colleges of the world and the Red Hills of the world, to your kind of middle tier. And we are working with government at the moment, servicing your quintile 2 and quintile 3 schools. And so, our mission here, I'm going to recite to you, which I've said so many times, our mission statement, which is to try and to democratize high quality career guidance and career support services to effectively integrate the youth into the economy at scale. So we're trying to build something that anyone from any background can use, and we're very glad.
Jared? So if we think about what Jared's saying, that's just so incredible in terms of how you can be using this platform in so many different ways to really be engaging with young people. So think about the types of careers that children could be exposed to. It's just really wide. So Jared, I think we lost you for a minute over there, but could you perhaps tell us the kinds of career opportunities that you show children, or how does it work?
Okay, cool. So what I'll do is I'm just going to share my screen quickly.
Great.
I didn't mention before. So the word Yenza means commit or do. in Xhosa and Zulu. And that really underpins the ethos and the philosophy of our solution. So another thing that I would say is more of an innovative approach that we're taking is we try to guide people along a process. We don't tell them what to do. And there's a very important idea behind that, because what you find in, you call it traditional career guidance, is that people will take an assessment if they're lucky to have access to something like that, some form of psychometric assessment, and they'll get some kind of report, and that report will just tell them what they should do. So when that happens, the young child is completely passive in that process. And so what we've done is we've designed our technology and our tool to guide someone along their own process, to come to their own conclusions, but to focus them in the right areas along that journey. So
what does that mean in terms of an individual? So you're talking very broadly. So
yeah.
If I went and did the assessment, what is the next step along the way? How does it take me on that journey?
Great question. So we call that the Yenza pathway. And I'll kind of dip into the product in a sec so you can see the kind of technology side of things. But just to explain a little bit more and kind of lead on to what you say, is that the Yenza pathway, which is the experience that someone goes through on the platform, is divided into 4, I would call it sequential stages. There's the learn stage, which is the foundational stage. You need to learn about yourself before you can start to make decisions. Then there's the explore stage, the develop stage, and the seek phase. So in the learn phase, we built ourselves. We've built assessments from the ground up with some of the leading psychometrists and psychologists in the country. These are scientifically validated assessments. These are not fly-by-night quizzes. So we've built some amazing assessments, and we've really innovated on the delivery of these assessments. And a lot of the time, when your educational psychologists or your counselors see our assessments and how engaging and how fast they are, that kind of lights everyone up, because traditional assessments are boring, long-winded. They take 2 hours or so. They're cumbersome. They're complex. They're a nightmare to administer. They're a pain in the butt, basically.
And the other cool thing is this is South African based, so we're not using an assessment that's not locally or created in Africa. So that also is a huge advantage.
It's all localized, all proudly South African. And so, a kind of important point to understand is that these assessments are essentially designed to obviously guide a young person. So the accuracy of the results is completely dependent on the accuracy of the inputs from the individual, right? That's how these assessments work. The results are only as good as the inputs. But if you've got an assessment that takes 2 hours, that is boring and that is dry, the quality of the inputs from a young kid who just wants to get out of the class and go and play with his friends diminishes drastically over time. So the accuracy of these assessments are actually very low, just because of the formats that traditional assessments are currently in. And that was one of the kind of key innovations and insights behind our product, is to really meet young kids with where they're at in terms of using apps, gamification, fast imagery, all of those kinds of things. So back to the pathway. So in the pathway.
So I just want to interrupt you. Brett Sinclair's just saying, nice guys. So well done, Jared. So how's it, Brett?
Hi, Brett. We miss you. I hope you're not too cold there in London. It's a heat wave here in South Africa. So there you go.
Very hot.
So you've got these assessments. Then what we do is we've got the smart technology. There's an algorithm that lives underneath our assessments that analyzes the data and then personalizes career matches. We use over 250 data points. We are really good on the data science side of things, and we take a very integrated approach at understanding people. And then our career library, we focus individuals on high demand, high growth careers. So you mentioned about like what careers do people get exposed to or get shown. So what we do, and this is where I like to make the differentiation between Yenza and other tools that are out there. There are effectively two kinds of solutions that you can have in the career space. There's a breadth-based solution and a depth-based solution. A breadth-based solution shows you everything. It's like an online portal. It's a hub. Here are all the careers. Here are all the opportunities. Here are all the options. And now you must go and figure it out for yourself. It's generally a generic one-size-fits-all kind of experience, which has its use, but I would say it's not really guiding an individual. Then you have a depth-based solution, which is you do the heavy lifting for the individual. You narrow the you narrow the focus and the attention, and you allow someone to go deep. So that's what our solution does. We've got around 350, and we keep adding to our career library, but we've got about 350 high demand, high growth careers. This is where the opportunities are. And we give a lot of information around these careers to actually make sure young people have the right expectations around what these careers actually entail, because that's the two challenges here is young kids don't know what they don't know. And young kids are often pursuing careers that are actually on the steady decline, especially when you consider what's happening, with the 4IR and technology and disruption. It's like, okay, I want to be an accountant. Well, did you know that being an accountant is, accountancy is directly in the firing line of automation? Are you aware of that? It's those kinds of things that young people are just not really aware of, that we are taking very much into account, and then also communicating that through the tool so that people can start weighing up the pros and cons of their career choice. So that's what's happening in the learn.
Yep. If I think about this learning space, that sounds really, really exciting. While the person is going through that kind of space, are they given options, or does the machine learning actually narrow it? So how do they make choices within the learning space?
So we call them explorer tools, which you're going to see now in a sec. So a lot of the hows that you're asking, you're going to see once we're in the product. So an individual will get choice. We're not overly prescriptive, right? So we never say to someone, you should be A, B, or C. We're not overly prescriptive. But what we want to do is we want to narrow your focus and attention and narrow the options, that there is a high probability that at least one or two of those options are going to be hyper relevant to you. Because you can never, ever tell, no matter how smart technology is at this point, you can never tell if someone, you can never through technology say, you are 100% a lawyer. You can never do it. So there's no technology that exists that can do that. So to be overly prescriptive is irresponsible, but to show someone hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of options, well, you're not really guiding them.
No.
So there's a happy sweet spot. There's a happy in between that we're trying to operate within. Then we've got the explore tools, and we call them explorer tools for that very reason, these are tools that are designed to help people navigate across subject choice, university choice, opportunities, the world of work, and you'll see those in action in a sec. So we've moved from the learn to the explore, and now we have a better sense of our career path and where we want to go. And now we need to start developing. We need to increase our levels, our skills levels, our levels of employability. So what we do here is we partner with highly credible skills course providers. We don't build any skills courses ourselves, and there's a reason for that. We could if we wanted to, but we've decided not to, because the whole purpose of giving people skills for us is we want those skills to help someone to get a job.
Yes.
Right? So if someone's taking a Yenza course and then you go to Standard Bank or you go to another corporate and they say, oh, well, I've taken these Yenza courses, and they say, who's Yenza? We don't know who they are. What does that mean to us? Versus, oh no, I did a Microsoft Excel course. I did a Udemy course. I did this course. I did that course. Oh, that's credible. That's seen as credible, and that can actually get you a foot in the door. So what we do there is we're partnering with all these very credible skills providers. We offer a mix of free and paid for courses, and anything that's paid for is significantly discounted through our platform. So there's a kind of quite a nice financial saving there for schools and for parents. We've built it in a way that we start to recommend skill development based on how the person has done in their assessments, the careers that they're interested in pursuing, and then the system works together to then say, okay, based on what you've done, these are the skills courses and these are the kinds of skills you need, and this is what we recommend. And then we curate that information for the individual, and then they can decide to kind of further that.
So
the other thing that we do.
Oh, sorry. So I was thinking that's really interesting. So you get the people to do an initial assessment, they then learn more about it, they then explore further, and then they begin to upskill themselves.
Yeah.
So that's really great, and that all becomes a personal journey. Yes, that's
correct.
Fantastic.
It's a personal journey. So I'm going to just jump to this over here, which is, we call it Smart Career Technology. So what that is that it's a fancy term for saying that we analyze a lot of information that's coming through the system, and then our platform is adaptive and responsive to individuals, so we personalize career pathway recommendations. So it is a personalized journey through the platform. And then just to kind of tie it up, and then I can dive into the product, so we can talk a little bit more about the kind of tools and features. So we've also built an amazing CV. It's unlike any CV builder you would have seen, and you'll see it in a sec. And this is also a very important and very misunderstood hurdle in the youth employment space. Because I started my journey in entry-level recruitment, I got to speak to many, many recruiters. And the reality is that there is an oversupply of people to jobs in this country and in many, many countries. So what happens in that instance is that recruiters are inundated with CVs. Okay, they are overwhelmed, especially at the entry level. They are completely and utterly overwhelmed with the number of CVs that they have to process in order to decide on who to call in for an interview. Do you know what the first way is that a recruiter whittles down their list?
No, probably handwriting or something.
They look at the format of the CV.
Oh, wow.
So now, can you imagine how many people are high potential, very good young people that have not been shown or have not had access to putting together a properly good, well-formatted, structured CV, are not being considered for entry-level work just because of that, which is very unfortunate, and something that we want to avoid at all costs. We want the most relevant and deserving person to get the job. So that's why we've spent quite a lot of time with the CV. And what we've done there is we've also integrated assessment information into the CV. So we've turned the CV, which is typically a subjective representation. It's my perspective of who I am and my skills and everything like that. And we've turned it into both an objective and subjective representation with accredited assessment information built into the CV. So it becomes, a recruiter's dream, basically. And then the last part of this process, which we're still in the process of developing, is seeking, which is essentially us assisting people to find various opportunities, learnerships, bursaries, jobs, and that will be done through a partner network, which we're busy developing at the moment. So that's the kind of sequential pathway of learning, exploring, developing, and seeking. The nice thing about Yenza and the way that we work with schools, and we typically start with schools in grade 9 and helping the grade 9s with subject choice, because that's a kind of, I call it, we used we used to say this at Google, which you might remember, but they're called moments of truth.
Yep.
So there are those. That's a saying, which is that there are critical moments in one's life that have long-term impact. One of those moments is subject choice in grade 9, because the subjects that you choose determine a lot of stuff post. The next choice is tertiary choice, the courses that the courses and degrees that you're going to pursue, the skills that you're going to develop. These are moments of truth, and what we're trying to do here is empower a young individual to make the right choice for themselves, which is also a very critical bolding, because young kids are typically heavily influenced by parents, heavily influenced by teachers, and heavily influenced by friends, and heavily influenced by social media, and heavily influenced by a lot of things. But what you really want is to have a young person that can really have a strong sense of themselves, so that they have the confidence to be able to get rid of the noise and make the right decision for themselves. And I think that's also part of how we're trying to build the product. So now I'm just going to quickly dive into a couple aspects of the product, so you can see it in action. Yeah.
So Jared 20 is saying hello to you.
Hey, how's it?
So thanks for joining, Trini. So Jared, if we think about with what you've just said in terms of the schools, how easy is it for them to get hold of you to actually get access to this? And would it be suitable for young people who are not in a school? So how does somebody who is not in a school also access it?
So you can purchase Yenza directly from our site. So if someone's not, in school, and our price point is significantly cheaper than anything out there in the market. We're able to do that because we built everything ourselves. We're not a reseller of someone else's assessment or platform, which you find a lot of people are in the space. So, we are very affordable, and young people can come directly to the site and purchase. And schools can get hold of me. I think my email is somewhere underneath there.
We'll put it up.
It's jared@yenza.me. Typically what we do is we'll do like a 30-minute demo. We'll give you access as the school, and then, you can decide from there. And rolling it out in schools is very straightforward. It's a very intuitive platform, which you'll see now. So there's very little teacher training. We provide teachers with administration dashboards. They can handle everything, very easily in terms of admin, and we've really had a very kind of seamless rollout across all of our schools to date, which is very important.
I was just thinking that something I've been asked in the last while is there are community projects where communities are trying to uplift community people. Could a community group get hold of you similar, so it wouldn't be an official school, but a group that could then get access?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the same.
Yeah, we work with.
Pop you an email.
Yeah, 100%. We also work with NGOs, variety of NGOs we work with. We have, ways, to work with NGOs and community groups, and that's the kind of work that, really motivates us. That's why we're doing what we're doing, is to give everyone access, everyone an equal footing, at least, to kind of launch their careers. So into the platform, and I just want to show you one or two things. So we start off with our flagship assessment. It's called the worker type assessment. It's a vocational aptitude or interest-based assessment. We don't create our own assessment frameworks. These are all highly reputable frameworks, but what we do is we modernize the delivery of these assessments to make them fast, engaging, inclusive, all the things you need. So Yenza is a mobile web app, so you can access it on any device that has a web browser. It's an amazing mobile experience. And we've rolled it out. We've done over 85,000 assessments. We've rolled it out in many different environments, many different contexts, kids on very basic phones, and they're able to use the platform, which is great. I'm just going to show you. So our platform is also multilingual. So you can take our assessments currently in English, Afrikaans, Xhosa, and Zulu, and we're going to be adding a lot more languages as we go. You can see here we've got questions, a very simple answering mechanism of me or not me. You can swap out the languages as you go. And imagery really helps. It makes it engaging. The format is very fast. It takes people on average to complete this assessment. It takes people on average 5 minutes. And this is, as I mentioned, a scientifically validated assessment. This is something that takes 60 minutes to 90 minutes generally for people. So it's super fast. We've built an assessment engine that sits underneath this. So it works on very poor connections. It doesn't crash. A lot of online assessments, they crash, they stall, they do all of those things. They're very difficult on mobile phones, and we overcome pretty much all of those hurdles. So now, once you've done the assessment, you get an immediate report. So there's no delays in terms of feedback. Our instructions are very kind of clear and easy to follow. We show people their worker types. Worker types are basically give someone a directional sense of where they want to go. It orientates someone along a particular generalized path. So there's 6 kinds of worker types. You can be a thinker, builder, creator, organizer, influencer, or helper. And generally, we're a mixture of those 6, and we show people their primary and their secondary. Then they come to their report. They click around. Typically for a thinker, what is your preferences, characteristics, strengths, preferred tasks, values, and work style? And this is where someone starts to learn about themselves. If they don't understand a word, they can click on a word like, what does theorizing mean, for example? And you can click on the word, and this is where you get the word, the explanation in the different languages, as well as the audio. So you could click on the microphone, and you can hear someone explaining the word back to you in the report. So highly inclusive, which is obviously important. And also our reports are very user-friendly. Typically what you find in the assessment space is reports are very long-winded, very technical, lots of stats, lots of graphs, lots of words that people don't understand. So we've done everything ourselves to make it as easy and digestible to a young kid and a parent as possible. That's what we're trying to do here, is to actually service the end user, which is, the goal for any product. So here you can see I'm in the dashboard. We're actually doing a big revamp on our interface. So there's a lot of exciting stuff coming. But as you could recall, here is the pathway: learn, explore, develop, seek. Over here in the learn side of things, we've got a bunch of assessments that you can take: personality traits, emotional intelligence assessments, cognitive ability assessments. We've got an areas of development reports, and we're introducing a learning style assessment as well as an entrepreneurship assessment in the coming month. So there's a lot of rich information here that people can learn about. And then in the next phase, we've got these explorer tools. So you can explore, and what we say is first you need to go and start exploring careers that are matched to your results. The more assessments and the more engagement you do on the platform, the more these matches become accurate. And so now you'll see, based on our initial assessment, our worker type assessment, we're starting to see those career matches coming through. So here you'll see the matches, and we show people between 30 to sometimes 45 careers in their matches feed. And then what you can do with this is you can slice and dice them based on a career direction that you're interested in, earning potential, minimum qualification requirement. So, if you're interested in, let's say, finance, you could click on that. All right. So these are finance related careers. And then if you wanted to look at something that's, call it medium earning potential, now you've got, okay, cool. What does it mean to be a research analyst? You click in over here. And now we've got a lot of rich information around being a research analyst. We detail very important stuff in very easy to digest formats. Is it future proof, salary prospects, stress levels, qualification time? We detail the career, we describe the industry. Here's where we're going to be introducing very contextualized skill courses, the environment, skills guides, core responsibilities, X factor. So there's a lot of rich information on every career. And how we work with schools is we say, okay, get your pupils to go through various assessments, go through the career matches, favorite their read through the career so that they can start to understand what the careers actually entail, and then favorite the careers that they're most interested in by hitting that heart button. And then you can take this information to your counselor, to your parent, to whomever, and you can have a very meaningful, intentional discussion. And you've already gone through such a process, instead of taking someone from absolutely ground zero and saying, okay, well, tell me what you're interested in. And you've got very limited time with an individual. Here, they've gone through this process themselves. It's been very easy, very intuitive, very engaging, very fun, which is important. And now now you're talking around the specifics in a very short space of time.
Just quickly before you go back, I noticed some were blue and some were red. So are the red ones careers that were of danger, or why the two colors?
So we anchor the careers primarily on the worker type. So you'll see here, organizers. Okay. So the colors are here, thinker and organizer.
Okay.
And you'll see the tags over here as well. So there's thinker, it's advanced.
Okay.
And then as you go to the red ones, those are organizer related.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. So it's all the color coding then when you start playing in the platform and you get to, that then becomes another thread that's quick and easy to observe and to, great.
Correct. And then we've got our Explorer tool. So, I'll jump into the Subject Explorer tool because that's, generally the entry point for schools. We cater for the Cambridge curriculum as well as the NSC IEB curriculum. And so what we do with our Explorer tools is what I mentioned before, which is we guide people through a decision-making process. We don't tell them, you should do this and you should take that. We want to guide people, and the only way you can guide people effectively is to build up their own levels of self-awareness, right? And career awareness. And then you can start to guide people.
To get rid of the don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
So what we do here on the Explorer tool is we say, okay, here's some information about careers. Here's like subject definitions. You can learn about stuff, pass rate requirements, nothing too overwhelming. And then the real kind of magic happens in the Explore side of things, where we anchor the individual based on their preferred worker type. So as I mentioned before, the worker type is like a career directional path that you want to go on. And generally, not always, but generally someone will prefer one worker type over another. So let's say I've gone, I've taken my assessment, I've read it through, and I'm like, you know what? I resonate more with being an organizer. I would switch that out. And then you would get subject recommendations based on a worker type. And then worker types are mapped to career directions or career clusters. So these are similar or associated industries. So let's say, okay, I'm interested in human services. You click into that career cluster, you get subject elective recommendations on a cluster level, and then you see the subject recommendations on a career level that are appearing underneath the careers. So if someone's saying, okay, I'm actually interested in being an industrial psychologist, they'll see the subject recommendations over here, and then they can come back, and then now they know what subject electives and subject selections they should take. So you've taken someone through the process to come to an idea of, okay, this is the career, or these are the careers that I'm interested in, and these are the corresponding subjects, and they've got all the information supplied to them along the process. And I think the last thing I'd like to show you, or two of the last things I'd like to show you, because we're running a little bit out of time, is our Skills Explorer, which we've just recently launched, which I'm really excited about. And I think this is going to be great for young kids to start skilling themselves up. And one of the things I didn't mention is this general shift from a qualifications-based economy to a skills-based economy. So employers are thinking less and less about qualifications and more about specific skills that people have. So what we're trying to do here is to empower people to start acquiring specific skills that are seen as credible. So here we have some of our featured courses from our skills partners. We've got a mix, as I mentioned, of free and paid for courses, and then anything that's paid for, we provide discounts. So you can see here's a course on managing yourself and your workload. It's a 50% off course. You can view it and you can click off, and then you see here your discount code is applied. It's 59 Rand, or you say 59 Rand rather, and then you can come off and take the course.
Wow, that's really great.
And you can you can navigate through different kinds of skills or skill groups. So a skill group like career readiness, collaboration, communication, literacy, creativity, digital skills. Okay, what do I want to see in digital skills? Data and programming and digital literacy. Okay, let's look at data and programming. And then here you can start to see the courses that we are making available. So there's nice ways to navigate and to browse. And we're busy loading more and more courses, all the time. And I think this will be a really nice, addition for young kids. And then the last thing I wanted to show you is the CV, which I mentioned.
Oh, great. I was going to ask that if you weren't going to. That's lovely.
So here's the CV. It's obviously not filled out right now, but you can see as you start taking assessments, information starts to appear. So here is the worker type summary that's from the worker type assessment. If you take our personality assessment, that information starts to appear. It's very interactive. You can start to rate yourself based on your worker type results. So the interface is very easy to use and engaging. And we set the controllables in the CV. So when you're updating the CV, it's being done in a best practice way, so that when you finally are complete and you're sharing your CV, you're sharing it online or printing it and downloading it, it's done in the kind of best practice way.
Right.
So, for example, with experience, we only give you a certain number of description boxes that you can use to describe. So we don't want people to over describe or under describe. We have help tips and instructions built into the CV. So if people don't know best practice around detailing who they are and how they should describe themselves, we've got instructions that are built in every section of the CV. And you can print this out. It looks beautiful on an A4 piece of paper. You can share it online. I think that's probably enough in terms of just the product.
You said share it online or print. So can they also just download it as a PDF that they could attach?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let me jump out of this, and I'm going to share a different screen. If you give me a second, I'll show you an example of a printed out CV.
Oh, great. Thank you. If anybody's got any questions, please drop them into the box. So, Jared, in terms of the age group, you said you start at grade 9, but then what happens? Are you saying that the child's or the student's learning journey carries on until matric? So do they just carry on then with the courses and the exploring and the learning, or do they go back to the assessment kind of space again? Do they get to reflect again? Perhaps their idea has changed?
Yeah, so I'll answer that in a sec. Just want to quickly show
Great.
you.
This
This is an
really
example.
great.
This is very eye-catching. It's done in best practice. This is one A4 piece of paper that's got a lot of information built in. So yeah, to answer your question, let me stop sharing. Am I stop sharing?
Yeah,
there.
I've taken it off.
So the way that we work is that when a school signs up, and for an individual, when they sign up for Yenza, they have lifetime access. So the grade 9 will have access for the rest of their life to Yenza. So various tools and features will be relevant to that individual at different stages along their career journey. In grade 9, they'll be using the tool for subject choice, probably grade 10 as well. Grade 11, they'll start thinking about skills and tertiary, maybe opportunities as well. And as we start to develop more on the kind of opportunities and assisting people with work-related stuff, that becomes more and more relevant for school leavers. But as I said, once you've purchased Yenza for a young person, they have access for the rest of their lives. They don't have to pay every year. It's not an annual subscription type of scenario.
And then if we go back to a school, so if a school then signs up for this year's cohort of children, they would then sign up next year for the next cohort. Is that how it works? So grade by grade,
Yeah. So what we're doing now, we've got a first time school special to really incentivize schools, because what we find is once the school starts to use Yenza, they are very, very happy. The pupils are happy, the parents are happy, everyone's happy. So what we do is we say you can buy for one grade and get 2 grades free. That's the kind of entry level package. And then the following year, you're basically just buying it for 1 grade, typically your new crop of grade 9s. We're very, very affordable, especially for the first time package. It's really, really, on a per person basis, it's extremely, I don't like to use the word cheap, but it is very affordable for what's being offered. And yeah, we provide a pretty good level of support as well for schools. I think that's been received very well. And we are building some really nice tools for schools to both manage the Yenza process as well as garner insights, because there is a lot of interesting information that is coming through the system that with consent we are able to share, that can really help schools in terms of planning, styles, how to get the most out of people, conversations with parents. There's a lot of value add that's built into the product. And the last thing to say is that because there's so many facets to the Yenza product, it's not just an assessment, which often, sometimes we have to kind of reiterate, is that we get compared with another solution that just provides assessments, where we're providing so much more than that. Is that for life orientation specifically, throughout the course of the year, life orientation teachers are going back into the platform and utilizing different components and using it for their classwork, using it for activities, using it for project ideas, using it for career days, using it for a multitude of reasons throughout the course of the year, not just for a singular, let's take an assessment and figure out what subjects or what tertiary institution you should go to.
That is just so fantastic, because I think it's something that schools really need. And just listening to what you've said, if you can give them insights to what are the students' interests and where they're going, it could even impact subjects that schools offer going forward, or
100%,
things like that. Where do they need to put more resources in the school kind of space, because this is where the children are showing an interest. So that's
that's the
really,
idea.
really great. And the nice thing about that is it's really community orientated. You're not taking results that are global or even countrywide. It's the children in your school. What is your community actually saying they wanting or have an interest in? So then you're really meeting as a school the needs for that, for your community, which is even fantastic, because I think often schooling is quite generic. So if we now can start saying, look what we're seeing your students as a whole are interested in, you should try and focus on more of those things. That's really exciting.
Yeah, and we wanted to build something that gets people excited, about careers and stuff. Careers can be very dry, and it has been for a while, and the whole process is very dry. So we wanted to get people very, motivated and inspired and engaged. And I think, through the feedback, we were speaking to a teacher today from Fairmont. They're using us for the second time now, and she was saying, like, the kids just wanted to go back for more and go back for more and carry on, and couldn't kind of get them away from the computer lab. And like, that's what you want to hear, right?
Yes,
That's the kind of thing it's very difficult to achieve something like that. So we try to build Yenza in a way that's very contemporary for our youth.
So, Jared, I've just really loved learning more about how you've got your platform to grow and how it's really a tool which I think can benefit schools just from so many different levels. And then if you go all the way down to the individual child who's sitting there thinking, what subjects do I do, or what job should I actually explore because they don't know? And I think that's just really amazing. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing. So,
and one last thing, Karen, sorry, one last thing is just, I wanted to reiterate or just say is that the reason why we like to work so much with schools is that, Yenza, having that blended approach to career guidance is the best, right? Where you have a technology that can help and a person that can dialogue and have the engagement and the interaction. So working with and through schools side by side with counselors, with head of life orientation, with educational psychologists, we see such great results. Sometimes people are like, oh, is this app supposed to replace me? No, it's not supposed to replace you. It's supposed to amplify and help you and give you time, which is the kind of most precious commodity that people struggle with, especially when it comes to guidance.
That's true. And I agree, the blended approach, like you've just said, is just so useful in terms of, and I suppose that's my feeling with technology. If we can use technology wisely as teachers, it can really give you the time to spend with the children, and you've got results and things that you can discuss with them meaningfully. So then the discussions become personal and meaningful, which is really great. So as we finish off, what are the thoughts that you'd like to leave with people? How would you like to end?
Yeah, I think, ultimately, I think when it comes to career guidance, it's very easy to forget who we're trying to help. Everyone kind of gets in the way. And I think our focus in everything that we do with the product is really for the young individual directly. It's not what you want, and it's not what anyone else wants. It's what that individual wants and what that individual needs. And I think when it comes to career guidance, I find that there's a lot of tick box exercises going on with regards to, well, we do it and it's good enough. Where I would argue that, guiding someone along their career and career path and career choice is probably the most important decisions that an individual gets to make in their lives, because it has such major ramification. And I think we should give a lot more love and attention to it.
That's very true. So thanks, Jared. I've really loved chatting with you this evening. I'm going to end the session. Thanks to those of you who were watching. Have a good evening. Thanks then.
Thanks,
Goodbye.
Karen.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jared. Bye.